Hi everybody, I'm Bonnie with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I want to teach you how to make the spring cables and lace throw. Let me go ahead and give you a better view right here. This is an intermediate project, but if you're a confident beginner, I encourage you to go ahead and take a look at the video anyway and see if you can feel comfortable with these stitches. It's always fun to learn something new. For those of you who are looking for the written pattern, it is available as always in my Lovecraft store. The link is in the video description below. And if you're one of my watch.bonniebaycrochet.com subscription viewers, the pattern will be complimentary on the watch site as always. Well, let's go ahead and get started. For this project, I'm going to be using Brava, which is a worsted weight acrylic yarn. Each skein has 218 yards. The number that I'll be using will be right across the bottom, as well as the approximate yardage, so that you can use whatever you would like if you don't have this yarn available. And here are some of the stats. Here it is 100% premium acrylic. And the color, let me give you that information. This is called Marina. And there's the lot number there in case you need that. You will also need 2 crochet hooks. For this project, I am going to be starting with the size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook. For the lace portion of this particular project, I'm going to be using a size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. And as always, I'm recommending that you have a pair of sharp scissors and a yarn needle handy. Now we're going to start by using the size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook, and we're going to begin with a slip knot, and we are going to chain 210 chains. Now, if you find that you have a hard time keeping up with many of these chains and such a large stitch count, what you can do is use a stitch marker of some sort. If you don't have stitch markers like this, you can just use yarn that's a contrasting color. And when you get to a certain number that you like, you can just mark that space as a reference point. I like to maybe mark counts of 25 or 50, and that way if you're distracted during your stitch count, you can always go back to the stitch markers and know for sure what the count is and go from there. I hope that's helpful, so go ahead and finish those 211 chains. Now to begin row 1, I'm going to work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to work a single crochet in each chain all the way across. When I finish this row, I should have a total of 210 single crochets. Okay, I have finished my 210 single crochets. I just wanted to show you something. It does have a little bit of a curl in one end. Don't worry about that, because the stitches that we're going to work on the next few rows should take that completely out. All right, so now we're ready for row 2, and we're just going to chain 1, and we're simply going to single crochet in each stitch all the way across. After completing row 2, go ahead and turn, and we are going to chain 1, and the next 2 rows are going to be the low front ridge. And the way we do that, we start with a chain 1. We're going to skip the first stitch, but don't worry, the stitch count will remain the same because it's going to be based on the row that we worked after this row. And working only in the front loop, we're going to work a slip stitch in each stitch all the way across the row. Make sure that you don't work this tightly, or it will definitely have an impact on the project. If you find that your slip stitches are extremely tight, I would recommend bumping up to one size larger than your gauge hook so that they're not pulled too tightly. But if you find that your slip stitches are even, and just like this, then you should have no problem. So just go ahead and continue working in the front loop only, working those slip stitches all the way across the row. you should have a total of 209 stitches after completing this row. After having worked that all the way across each stitch, go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to turn, and now we are going to work 1 single crochet worked in the remaining loop of that single crochet row, and we're going to work this in each of the remaining loops across, and that will bring our stitch count back up to 210 stitches, because we are going to be working in the very first loop that we skipped. So go ahead and work this row. This is row number 4, and this is row, it's actually the second row of the low front ridge. So finish row number 4. After completing that last row, let's turn and we can look at the nice ridge, or the low front ridge that was created with those last 2 rows. Now we're going to begin the Celtic weave with a chain 2, and we're going to work a double crochet in the very first stitch. Okay, and this is what we're going to repeat all the way across the row. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to work front post trebles around the next 2 stitches, and we work that by just having the hook go around the body of the stitch, just like this. It's like you're giving it a belt, and then we complete that treble crochet as you normally would. Now, working in front of these last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in this stitch and then this stitch. Again, these are all front post stitches working around the body of that stitch. Okay, so the first cross with Celtic weave is completed, and we're going to do this across the row. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those last 2 stitches, we front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Try that one again, got away from me. One and 2. Let me do that for you one more time. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And then working in front of these last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in this stitch and then in this stitch. So this is a 4-stitch repeat. So go ahead and work that to the last stitch, and then I will show you what to do at that point. At the end of row 5, you should have 1 stitch left. Go ahead and work a double crochet in that last stitch, and this is what your throw should look like at this point. Okay, now we're going to turn to begin row 6, which is the second row of the Celtic weave. We're going to chain 2. We're going to work a double crochet in that first stitch. Now we're going to be working with the back side facing, and the first thing we're going to do on this Celtic weave is work 2 back post treble crochets, 1 in each of the first 2 stitches. So you notice this with the back side facing begins differently. We start out right away by working the first 2 stitches instead of skipping the first 2. That's very important. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and we are going to back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. I'm trying to flip up so that you can see what the front side looks like as I grab that stitch in the back there. Now this is the tricky part, and I'm going to try to explain it slowly and carefully. So now we're going to work 2 back post trebles on these 2 stitches that were skipped. and you can usually feel them with the nerve endings in your tall man and your thumbkin there. And when you come across, these are going to cross in front as seen from the front side of the piece, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So the hook goes all the way in back. It comes in, it grabs that first stitch, and then you complete the treble crochet. Let's do that again, coming all the way in the back. This is a back post treble crochet. Okay, I'm going to do this again. Skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble crochet over the next 2 stitches, now working in front of these 2 stitches as seen from the front side, so it's way in the back. So we're going to come back, and the hook comes around for this first stitch here, and then again we're coming in from the back, and we complete that second stitch. Okay, so these will cross in front as seen from the front side, and when you flip it to look at the front side of the project, it should look like this. Now, if you don't have anything that looks like this, then maybe you need to stop and re-watch this, or check out, there's a video in the video description below that shows you how to make the Celtic weave stitch. It's just a stitch video, but that might actually be very helpful to review at this point. Okay, so now I'll do it one more time. I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of these 2 as seen from the front sides, but with the back side facing, it's all the way in the back. So we come around, and we're going to work first this stitch, and then the next stitch, right like that. Let's go ahead, and this is what it looks like with the back side facing. And if we turn, I'll give you another view of that. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to see them crossing like this on the front side. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. After having worked this across the row, we should have 2 stitches here that are the post stitches, and then a double crochet left. And we are going to not skip anything, but just work those next 2 stitches as back post treble crochets, and then work a double crochet in that last stitch. And let's turn and take a look at what we have. And I'm going to mention just a little bit here while we work the first 2 stitches and then the last 2 stitches. We still have the same stitch count, but what's going to happen is these stitches are going to curve up around. So it's going to be kind of very much a woven Celtic weave situation here. So that's why we do this with the back side facing. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to start you on row number 7. And for this, we're going to start with a double crochet in that first stitch. And then just like we did on the first row of the Celtic weave, we're going to skip 2 stitches. We're going to front post treble in the next 2, and it's going to be a lot easier to see the stitches and as well as work in the stitches than it was working in the single crochets. You can clearly see which stitches are to be worked, or hopefully you can. For this row again, row 7. I'll do this again. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which are kind of hidden back here, 1, 2. See that? And then we're going to work these 2. So you always start out with the stitches that are going this direction, leaning towards you, and then you kind of do the other stitches that are hidden Okay, so let's go ahead and front post treble in these 2 stitches. And working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to work each of these. And again, I'm using the nerve endings in my tall man and my thumbkin here. Yes, I did teach preschool for many years as well as elementary school, in case you can't detect it from my terminology. The goal is to communicate, and that's the main thing. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, just like we did down here, but a little easier since we're working in established Celtic weave stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to work this row, which is a repeat of row 1 of the Celtic weave, and then we're going to work another row 2 of the Celtic weave, and then we're going to work another row 1 of the Celtic weave. So when we finish, we should have a total of 5 rows of Celtic weave. So from this point, go ahead and finish row 7, and then work row 8, which is the back side facing for the row of Celtic weave, and then work row 9, which is another row just like this that we're working. So go ahead and finish those 3 rows, and just to be clear, each row is going to end by working a double crochet in the last stitch of the row. This is the way your throw should look after completing 9 rows and after completing 5 rows of the Celtic weave. I find it very easy to count by just counting the crosses just like this. Okay, now I wanted to show you something else that tends to happen with this stitch. Notice how this is curving, and a lot of times this will be a concern to folks, but I just want to alleviate any concerns and just say that that's normal, and the next row that we're going to work is going to help to cure this. And of course, as we add additional rows to this throw and the project gains weight, this will straighten itself out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and chain 2 and turn. This is row 10, and this is the row that we're going to work to discontinue the Celtic weave. Okay, the first stitch, we're going to work a half double crochet, not a double crochet, but a half double crochet. Now across each stitch, we're going to work a back post double crochet, not a treble, but a double crochet. And we're just going to work this straight across the row. Make sure that you do work over all of the stitches, because the stitch count is very important, and it will stay constant throughout this project. Okay, so I will meet you at the end of this row. At the end of row 10, we work a half double crochet in the top of that last stitch. And let's go ahead and turn. And this is what you should have at this point. Okay, now the next 2 rows are going to be a repeat of rows 3 and 4, which was the low front ridge right down here. So I'll go ahead and start you on row 11, which is row 1 of the low front ridge. That's where we skip the first stitch, and then working in the front loop only, work a slip stitch in each of the remaining stitches across the row. And this is where we will have 209 slip stitches. It's just one short of our stitch count, which of course we make up as we work the row 2 of the low front ridge. So I'm going to just talk you through this. After you work all the way across with the slip stitches in the front loop, then we're going to turn, and the remaining loop, which is right here, we're going to work single crochets all the way across. And since we're going to work a single crochet in this stitch, which we skipped on this slip stitch side, that will bring our stitch count back up to 210 stitches in the row. So go ahead and finish rows 11 and 12, which is the same as row 1 and 2 of the low front ridge. So this is what the throw should look like after completing the first 12 stitches. Now it's time for us to begin the lace portion, and very important, you need to change your size J hook For one size smaller, I'm going to be using a size 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, now to begin this section, this is row number 13. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the first stitch, we're going to work a double crochet. Now we're going to work a chain 1. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then work a single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and in the next stitch we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, a treble crochet worked in that same space, followed by another chain 1 and a double crochet. This is all worked in that one space. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and single crochet in that next space. And that is the repeat as you're going to work across the row. I'll go ahead and do this with you again. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches, and in the next space we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, a treble crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet, a chain 1. Now we skip 2, 1, 2, and single crochet in the next space. I'll do this with you one more time. Chain 1, skip 2, 1, 2. In the next space we work a double crochet, chain 1, a treble crochet. These are where you work the 3 stitches in the same place. Chain 1 and a double crochet, followed again by a chain 1. And then we begin all over again with skipping 2 stitches and with a single crochet. So go ahead and work this across the row. So after working this all the way across the row, we're going to chain 1, and in the last stitch we're going to work a double crochet, a chain 1, and a treble crochet. And this ends the row. Now to start row 14, we are going to chain 1, and we're going to work a single crochet in the first stitch, which is that last treble we worked of the last row. Chain 1. We're going to skip all of these chain 1, the double crochet, and the chain 1, and just working in the single crochet, we're going to work a treble in that space, chain 1. Now this is where it gets a little bit interesting. We're going to work a double crochet, but we're going to go into the 2 strands along the side of the treble, just like this, and crochet that double crochet so that's on the side like that. Chain 1. We're going to skip the chain, the double crochet in the chain, and then working in the top of the next treble, we work a single crochet. And that is the repeat, but I will do this again for you because that can be a little confusing. Chain 1. We're going to skip the chain, the double crochet in the chain, and working in that single crochet, we work a treble crochet. After completing that treble crochet, we are going to chain 1 and then again work a double crochet along the side of the treble crochet by going in those 2 strands, just like that. Chain 1, and then we skip the chains and the double crochet and go to the top of that treble and work a single crochet, chain 1, and again skip the chain, the double crochet in the chain, and we're going to work a treble crochet in that single crochet, chain 1. After that chain, we work a double crochet, working in the side loops of the treble crochet. Chain 1, skip the chain, double crochet the chain, and working in the top of the treble, work a single crochet. So that is the repeat all the way across the row. At the end of row 14, we end with a single crochet in the third chain of that chain 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. Let's turn, and this is with the front side facing. Now to begin row 15, we're going to chain 1. We're going to single crochet in that first stitch, going to chain 1, and now working in the chain 1 space, which is right in the center of this V, so we're going to skip these stitches here. So working in that chain 1 space, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, a treble crochet, chain 1, it should be looking familiar to you, and a double crochet, and then another chain 1. Then we're going to skip this stitch and the chain 1, and working in this single crochet, we work another single crochet, chain 1, and we're going to start it all over again, skipping the chain 1 and this stitch. We're going to work in the chain 1 space with a double crochet, chain 1, a treble crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, chain 1, skip the stitch, the chain, and then working in the single crochet, work a single crochet, and that is going to be your repeat all the way across row number 15. Row 15 ends with a single crochet in the top of that last single crochet. Let's take a look at what we have. Now for row 16, I've gone ahead and I've turned my work, and we are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to double crochet in that single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the chain, the double crochet, the chain, and in the top of the treble, we're going to work a single crochet. After that single crochet in the top of the treble, we're going to chain 1, and now we're going to skip the chain, the double, the chain, and working in that single crochet, we're going to work a treble crochet, a chain, and then we're going to work a double crochet in those 2 side strands of that treble, and another chain, and then we skip the chain, the double, the chain, and in the top of the treble we work a single crochet, and that is your repeat across. I'll go ahead and do one more. Chain 1, we're going to skip the chain, the double, and the chain, and in that single crochet we work a treble crochet, chain 1, and then along the side of that treble in those 2 strands we work a double crochet and a chain, and skip the chain, the double, the chain, and in that treble crochet work a single crochet. And this is what you're going to work all the way across the row. And you can really see how lovely this lace is coming out, and that's just the back side. And just take a look at the front side, see how nicely this is going to look. At the end of row 16, we're going to work a chain 1 and then a treble crochet in the last stitch, that last single crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet along the side of that treble. Okay, now row 17 begins with a chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go ahead and work a double crochet in that first stitch, just like so. We're going to chain 1. After the chain 1, we're going to work a single crochet in the single crochet, and then chain 1, and working in the chain 1 space here, we're going to again skip the chain 1 and the stitch here. We're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, a treble crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet, all worked in that chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the single crochet. I'll do that one more time. Chain 1. We're gonna, well, let me go ahead and show you, skipping this chain and that stitch, and then we work a double crochet, chain 1, a treble crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet, chain 1, skip the stitch here, skip the chain 1, and work a single crochet in that single crochet. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. Row 17 ends with a chain 1, and then working in the 1, 2, the second chain or the third chain from the bottom, a double crochet, chain 1, and then a treble crochet. Okay, now we're ready to go on to row 18, which will be the last row of the lace before we work the row to discontinue the lace. Okay, we've chained 1 already, and we're going to work a single crochet in that first stitch, chain 1, and then again we're skipping the chain 1, the double crochet, the chain 1, and working in this single crochet. We're going to work a treble crochet, chain 1, and then working in the side, those 2 strands again of that treble, work a double crochet, chain 1, and skipping the chain, the stitch, the double crochet, the chain, and working in the next treble, we work a single crochet. I'll do it for you one more time. Chain 1, and skipping this stitch, and this stitch, and working in that single crochet, we work a treble crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet, worked along the side loops, if I can get them. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. There we go. Work that double crochet just like that. Chain 1, skip the chain, double the chain, and then working in that treble crochet, work that single crochet. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. At the end of row 18, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet in the second chain, or the 1, 2, it's the third chain from the bottom, or the second chain going from right to left. Okay, let's go ahead and turn and look at the front side facing, and you should be able to see this lovely pattern. Now we are going to work a row to discontinue the lace. In order to do that, we're going to change back to our larger size hook, and this is very important that we do this now. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work a single crochet in each stitch and in each chain 1 space across. So a single crochet in each stitch and in each chain 1 space. So go ahead and work that all the way across. After working this all the way across the row, you should have 2 places where you can put stitches left. There's a chain and a single crochet. I want you to skip the chain 1 space. Do not work a single crochet here. This is very important. And then work your last stitch in the single crochet just like that. And by doing so, you're going to maintain the stitch count of 210 stitches. If you add the single crochet there, you'll have one stitch too many. So go ahead and double check to make sure that you have 210 single crochets at the end of this row. Okay, we're just going to continue on using this J hook, or the larger of the two hooks, until we begin working the lace again further on down. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn, and for the next row we are going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across the row. So after completing this row, which is row 20, the single crochets in each stitch, we are going to repeat this pattern for the duration of the project. We're going to repeat starting with row number 3, which is the low front ridge down here. We're going to repeat from rows 3 all the way through row number 20. And don't forget that you're going to need to change to the smaller size hook when working the lace, and then bump up to the larger size hook when you're working the row that will discontinue the lace pattern. Okay, after completing 5.5 repetitions of these sections, you should have a total of 13 columns alternating the lace and the Celtic weave all the way across. Okay, the dimensions that I have are approximately 51 inches wide by about 57 inches long, and that is going to change as we continue on with the work. Okay, so this, I just wanted to give you an idea of where we are, and this is on a queen size bed. Okay, now we have one more row to work before working the perimeter round. We're still using our larger size crochet hook. We're just going to chain 1, and we're going to work single crochets in each stitch all the way across the row. After completing the single crochet all the way across the row, we're going to turn now, and we're going to do something very important. We're going to change to our smaller size hook. This is very, very important as we work this perimeter round. Go ahead. So now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work this perimeter round, starting by working on the row ends. We work the first single crochet at this point. Now let me give you a little strategy for working across the row ends over one complete repeat of the Celtic weave and the lace section. I can get approximately 25 stitches that look even in this section. So if you work 25 single crochets across each of these sections across, and then approximately I believe it would be 14 on the last Celtic weave section on the far end and the ending stitch there, you should come up with about 166 stitches. So do make sure that you have that stitch count. And then I'm going to go ahead and work that. I'll start working the first one and just show you how to do this. Although if you've gotten through this pattern, you should probably know how to do this by now. But I'm going to go ahead and just working in the row ends. And it's very important that these be evenly spaced as you go. Okay, so go ahead and work those 166 stitches across the row end to the next corner, and then I will show you what to do from there. After working those 166 stitches across evenly, we're going to turn 90 degrees, chain 2, and now we're going to be working in what is left of the foundation chain. And if you have a hard time finding out where the stitches go, just look where the single crochet was and you can insert your hook there. And we are just going to work slip stitches all the way across this edge. Just slip stitch, just like so. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to work this all the way to the next corner. Then we're going to chain 2, and then again we're going to work 166 stitches evenly across the other row end, chain 2, turn, and then we're going to slip stitch in the tops of the single crochets of that last side. And go ahead and work this all the way around the entire project. And then after that, do not fasten off, because we're going to continue on to the trim at the end that we're going to work. We're going to work the lace trim. So I'm going to work the last couple of slip stitches with you. So go ahead and slip stitch there, and then go ahead and work a slip stitch into that chain 1 space. And now we are ready to begin the edging or the lace trim on each of the row ends. Let's go ahead and start the first row of the lace. We're going to chain 4 and then double crochet in that first, or actually in the chain 2 space, and then we're going to go ahead and chain 1, skip 2, single crochet in the next stitch, and chain 1, skip 2, 1, 2, and then we work the established lace pattern of row 1, which is the double crochet, chain 1, treble crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. You probably have this memorized already. Skip 2, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, and etc. Then we repeat this all the way across the row. So go ahead and work row 1 across the row ends. After working this all the way across the row, you should have 1 stitch and the chain 2 space remaining. So let's go ahead and do our chain 1 and do our double crochet, chain 1, and our treble crochet worked right in that turning chain space, and that's going to end row 1 of this lace. So after you complete this row, go ahead and work 4 more rows in the lace pattern, and you will end with a row that looks similar to this. Okay, so this is what I have after working 5 rows of lace. I've decided that I'm going to make this a 7-row pattern across the row end. So go ahead and work 2 more rows, and you will end with a row that looks just like the one we completed, and then fasten off, and then join with a slip stitch in the chain 2 space of the corner on the other end, and complete the 7 rows to match. After fastening off, after completing 7 rows of the lace, I just wanted to show you how this looks at the end. And I'm going to show you a larger picture in just a second here of the entire project. But let me do one more thing. We have one more thing to do, and that is to hide all of these loose strands. And let me show you an easy way to do this. This is where this handy dandy yarn needle comes in. And I like to hide these on the back side, so you're going to want to go, concentrate on the back side of these. And each of these may be a little bit different depending on where the stitches are located. But you can run these down into the fabric, and you can see just using the yarn needle makes it so much easier. And since this is all one solid, let's go ahead and go this direction. I think this is going to be, I'm going to run it around just like this, and then under these 3 stitches, I think that's gonna hide it very well. And you can hide as much or as little of this as you want. I think that's going to be fine. I'm going to pull back on this just a little bit before I trim it. And with the scissors, you want to cut close, but not too close to your stitches. And I think that's good. So that stitch is sufficiently hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the rest of these, and then I will show you the completed afghan. Here is the finished cables and lace afghan. And the finished dimensions are approximately 51 inches by 68 inches long. And this is being shown right now on a queen size bed. Well, I hope you enjoyed making the spring cables and lace throw with me today. If you have any comments or questions, please just put them in the comment section below. Well, anyway, God bless. Bye-bye.